Namaskar, my name is Manish Kumar and I welcome all of you to my channel. So from today's video we are going to learn about airflow, and in today's video I am going to talk about very basics of airflow, why do we need airflow and all such questions like what all prerequisite will be there, and why do we even need airflow, do I really need to learn those things. So all those questions we will discuss in today's video. So without further delay we will go to the laptop screen and discuss all such questions. Alright, so I'm at the laptop screen and now you can see today's video topic is airflow. So today is the first lecture that we are going to talk about airflow. So we will see what all things has to be discussed in today's video. So in today's video I'm going to talk about what is airflow. Why do we even need airflow, right? We can have another tools. So what all tools as such there? Who should learn this? Do I really need to learn? And why not to choose airflow? So there are few questions which cannot be answered through airflow, so those things also has to be covered. Like we have to know what all things that airflow cannot do, what all prerequisite to learn this airflow, and then what are the other alternatives to airflow, right? So what all tools are there in the market which also can be learned in place of airflow. Apart from that, how many lectures will be there in this playlist? So straightforward I'm going to answer this here in this question itself. I believe that there will be 20 lectures, or it can go up to 25, but I don't think more than that will be required to learn airflow. And then language of this video, so basically we are going to have this discussion in English, but I do have a Hindi channel as well, which you can see on Manish Kumar. So this channel is Manish Kumar 2.0, and if you are a Hindi learner then you can just follow Manish Kumar. Okay? And then jargons of airflow. So what we'll do today, I will introduce you to all the jargons that we are going to use throughout the playlist or throughout the lectures that we are going to cover in the future, that I'll discuss here, and then we will be going to answer each and everything, and at last we'll see that all the jargons that are around airflow we already know, and we know in the depth. Okay, so to start with, what is airflow? First, we are going to discuss about what is airflow. So the first question, what is airflow? Before going to the airflow, we are going to outline some issues that are currently there in the industry which we are trying to solve, right? So the first thing, whenever we build a pipeline, and so mostly airflow is used to build the pipelines and orchestrate it, right? So what all issue that is there and how airflow will jump here and solve all the issues that we are facing in the data world, right? So the first issue is, like, let's say I want to run job, right? Run pipeline or a job at 6 a.m. daily, right? So no one is going to wake up at 6 a.m. daily and run the pipeline. That is not going to happen, right? So this is one of the issues that we have in the industry. Then what else? Then since we know that there are multiple pipelines running across the systems, right, and in the distributed system, so here we want to make sure that one job is running after another job. So basically there should be a pipeline dependency, right, that it should run one after another. So the second thing is pipeline dependency is basically I want to run the pipeline number 1 first, and as soon as pipeline 1 complete, I want to run the pipeline number 2. Then what else? Let's say I'm working in the for example Reliance Smart store or Walmart store, right? And Walmart has a lot of stores across the country. Now what we want that once we have all the data collected from all the stores, then only run the metric job, right? Metric pipeline. So in that case what we want is it should run like all jobs should complete, right? All jobs should complete, and then last run will be of metric, right? So this is the another requirement that we have. Like I want to run all the jobs. It can be any time during the day, any time during the night. But as soon as all the data has been collected from across the country, from all the stores, then only I want to run the metrics. It is just an assumption. It cannot be the case, but yeah, this is what we want to know. And then another question can be like, run as soon as file arrives, right? It can be the case that we are waiting for the file, right? And file can come any point in time during the day or during the night. Then someone has to go there and check each and every time, and as soon as file arrives, I should run the pipeline. So these are few issues that we have in the industry, and that is where Airflow comes into the picture and says I can solve all the question, all the issues that you have. But now you will be thinking, if you know cron, then this can be at least answered through cron. So why do we need some sophisticated tools like Airflow? Because in a pipeline, it cannot be always the case that we want to just run at some specific time. If you want to run at some specific time, cron is the good tool to go, right? But apart from that, pipeline dependency and then running the job at last moment or as soon as file arrives. So these are the questions that we had, and Airflow solves all the questions. That is why we need Airflow. Now we will go to the definition of Airflow and see. You don't have to answer this Airflow. So whenever in interview someone asks you what is Airflow, you don't have to answer the definition as such. Whatever you understand about Airflow, you can just talk about it. But yeah, I have given you some structured approach to say it, right? It is not always recommended to just mug up these things and just say it in the interview. No, we just have to understand it and then say it. So if you see here, what is the definition? A batch oriented framework. So here it's a batch oriented framework, means there is a different framework which can be used for streaming. This is only going to answer like whenever you need answers for a batch pipeline, then only this can help you. For streaming, it is not going to help you. So this is a batch oriented pipeline, right? Framework. So framework means a list of libraries that are working together to answer like to run the Airflow code, right? And so this is a batch oriented framework for building data pipelines. See here, I have written building data pipelines, but building is not the actual thing that it does. It does scheduling it. So most of the time you will see this is just scheduling it or orchestrating it. It is not actually built. This is not built for building the pipelines, right? And it, like in industry, 90% of the time you are not going to build the pipeline inside Airflow. But yeah, there are few use cases where we build some of the solutions in the Airflow machines itself. So when I'm going to talk about the same thing in the next video in installation setup, I'll talk about the machines details in more detail. And then the same definition goes, it basically sits in the middle of data process. It is basically sitting in the middle of data process. So basically it is not doing data processing. It is just sitting there and orchestrating the work. It is basically managing the work, right? Happening across distributed systems. So we can have maybe 10 machines, 20 machines that is running on a different portions, and it is just distributing the, like this is just orchestrating or scheduling the jobs across the system, right? So this is what Airflow does. This does not build the pipeline by itself, like it is not used for building the data pipeline. It is just for scheduling it. That's why I'm stressing this point a lot, right? And the same thing goes for a myth as well. People think that Airflow is a data processing tool, but it's not a data processing tool. It's just to orchestrate on a different component which is responsible for building data pipelines, right? Now, so if I give you a real world scenario, like as things are happening around, like you can consider as a marriage thing, right? In a marriage thing, basically let's consider parent as a Airflow, right? What they do, they basically give the task to each of their maybe son or daughter that okay, you have to take care of guest list, if you have to take care of catering, you have to take care of foods, right? You have to take care of venue, you have to take care of event planning, sangeet, and every other thing that is going there. So basically parents are there to manage all the things, but they are actually not doing it. They are asking, maybe they are offloading some work to the caterer, like you have to make the food and do all the arrangements. Then they are going to event planner, and event planner is helping them with the locations and everything, right? So you offloaded the work, but you are managing it. So you go to them and ask, okay, everything is working fine. They will be like yes, and if there is any issue, they will report it back to you that okay, we have some problem and you have to do this, right? So that is where parent can be considered as a airflow, that they are basically managing all the work. They are not doing it by themselves, but yeah, they are having all the knowledge of whatever things are going into that marriage thing that is running for 4 days 5 days. In India it is for 4 and 5 days. I am not sure about how things work in your country. So yeah, this is how you can consider as a airflow, right? So I think we have understood now airflow. We'll see what all questions are remaining. So I have answered what is airflow. It's a batch oriented framework which basically schedules it, right? Pretty simple. If someone asks you what is airflow, airflow is a batch oriented framework which is used to schedule the pipelines across multiple machines. Simple, right? Why do we need airflow? So now we know why do we need airflow. Basically it was answering all such questions. Now who should learn this, right? It can be the case that you already know some of the orchestration tool, then you don't need to, right? So I'll answer here, who should learn this first, right? First thing is, if you don't know any other orchestration tool, right? If you don't know any other orchestration tool, then this is a good place to start with. And second, it can be the case that you already know some of the tools, but you want to expand the tech stack in your belt, right? Expand tech stack, or because in interview it is mostly like in JD it is being asked, so you want to expand your tech stack so that you can get hired very easily, right? Or at least you have something extra to showcase. So in both of the cases, like first I'll consider this, if you don't know any other orchestration tool, so what all other orchestration tool we have in the market which are alternative to airflow, right? So earlier I used to use Autosys, that was also there. Then as I said, cron is also there. Then if you are from this one Azure cloud background, then ADF and Databricks, these two has also there. Like ADF has a trigger and Databricks has a workflow. Then what else? Lambda, if you are using AWS, then Lambda plus step function are being used. Then what else? Maybe you will be knowing Uji, right? Uji, NiFi. So these are all are alternative to airflow, and this all does the same work, but yes, not all has the same kind of flexibility that airflow has. So I'll talk about why airflow is more preferable in the market today than all of the tools that I mentioned just now, right? Before going there, I'll talk about the prerequisite, and then we will go to why only airflow. So what exactly airflow has that other does not have, and that is why this is getting very popular in the market right now. So the prerequisite that is there to complete this is Python, right? And Python means a good amount of Python. You cannot say that I know loop and function and I want to complete the like this airflow. In that case, you will do it, but you won't understand 100% of it. And if I'm teaching something, I will try to teach everything that would be required. But here, in case, like, because this is a prerequisite, so I already have a Python playlist. You can follow another channel as well, like Telesco, right? Telesco is another channel, because mine one is in Hindi language. So if you can change the audio track to English on my second channel, that is MANISH Kumar, so you can do that. Or yeah, I think Telesco, or any other channel in English, I don't remember. So you can follow Telesco for now. Also, you will have to understand API. So fast API should be enough. So like, if you want to be a good data engineer or engineer, we have to deal with API, right? Maybe in analyst we don't need to, but in data engineering we have to deal with API. We don't need to create the API, but at least we should know how to work with API. So that is where fast API is required. And also in the next lecture, I am going to install everything on Docker. There also I have created one API. So if you understand the API, then it will be pretty easy to follow along, right? So these two things has to be done. Let me check my channel list. So this is my channel where I have talked about everything about Python, but yeah, that's in Hindi. I think you can change the audio track to English if you want to understand. And here, if you see lecture number 30, oops are there, right? And then after lecture 35, API, basics of API. I'm not saying that you will become pro at building API, but yeah, you will understand how API works and what all things I can tweak to use in my data engineering projects, right? So these are the things that I have taught here. But of course, again, this is in Hindi, so you can follow Telesco, or you can try to change the audio track and learn from my videos, right? So these are the two prerequisites that we have to do. Okay, so now the next question is, why Airflow is so popular in the market, right? Why Airflow has become so popular? So this is called workflow as a code. So basically everything is handled with a Python code. So Python code, whenever code comes, means code comes with the flexibility. Of course, code comes with the challenges as well, but it comes with the flexibility. So Airflow is not a drag and drop tool, right? It's not a drag and drop tool that you can use. So basically you'll have to write a Python code here to build the pipelines, and that is where it becomes the challenge. So this is the boon on bin both for the Airflow. If you know Python, you can build any complexity. So whatever the complex situation you can think of to build the pipelines, or not build the pipelines, again I'm making a mistake, orchestrate the pipeline, it can handle all the possible situations that you have, right? And that is the key selling point of Airflow. Apart from that, Airflow has a Airflow UI. From UI, you can do tons of things like rerunning the job. So let's say in past some job failed, you can see the jobs and you can rerun it if you have the idempotency in your pipeline, right? What else you can do? You can see the logs on the UI itself, right? You can use cross communication with XCOM to share some of the data, which is also possible. Then what else you can do? Yeah, one such question for difficulty of a data engineer is incremental loading, right? Incremental loading also can be done with very easily, like it can be handled with some of the things are there inside the Airflow, which I don't want to talk about right now, but yes, incremental loading is pretty easy in Airflow. So these are the few key highlights of Airflow. That is the reason why this is so popular in the market today, that every other JD has Airflow in data engineer, if you are in data engineering field. So now I think we are done with all the things except jargons, right? We'll talk about jargons as well, but let me first see if I have answered all the question. What is airflow? I like we have discussed. Why do we need discussed? Who should learn this also discussed. So if you know ADF, Databricks and Lambda, any other tools, you can skip it, because it is not as important as Python, right? SQL, Spark, Cloud. So these are the most important or building blocks of data engineering. If you already know those things like Python, SQL, Spark and Cloud, then you can jump to start learning about Airflow. But if you are already having struggle with all this tech stack, then Airflow is not going to help you much, right? Then why not to choose Airflow, right? So you might remember that I was saying it is a batch oriented pipeline, right? So it can only handle batch, it cannot handle the streaming. So when not to choose Airflow? When we have a requirement of streaming, right? Apart from that, also if your team is not capable enough of handling the Python code, then again you will have a lot of struggle, right? But mostly Python, like if you are in data engineering space, most of the time, or if you are in data space, Python is one of the hot programming language that we use. So of course it will be there. I don't think that should be much of a challenge that your team does not know how to run code in Python, or how to write code, how to write script in Python. What is prerequisite to learn it? Again, Python and Fast API. Fast API is still okay, but Python is pretty much important at all, right? What are the alternatives to Airflow? Again, we have talked about how many lectures we talked about. Now the only thing is remaining is jargons. So now I'll go to the list of jargons that I have already built for you guys, and you can look at it. These are all the things that we have to talk about if we are learning about Airflow. So we should have understanding of data pipeline, that we already do. ETL, ELT, the most of the time we do. Graph. So basically I'm going to talk about DAG, directed or cyclic graph. So that is where ELT will graph will be required. Graph, node, both things comes from there. DAG, task dependency, right? Scheduler, worker, web server and metastore. These are the internals machines that we use to run the Airflow on. So these are the things that I'm going to talk about when we are going to discuss about the architecture, right? Triggers, operators, sensor, these are one of the most important thing, and the highest most important thing is operator that we have to learn about. Hooks is also there, and then Docker. Everything I'm going to run inside a Docker to have no issue at all with the version conflict or machine conflicts or machine issue, like anything. I don't want to any sort of issues. That is where I am going to give you installation in Docker, and everything we are going to follow inside a Docker. Then Airflow UI, just now I talked about a little bit a glimpse of it, why Airflow is so popular, and that is where Airflow UI is one of the key highlight. Also Airflow UI, apart from Airflow UI, we have a CLI and REST API to deal with. Then we have already talked about cron. I'll give you more details about cron. If you don't know, nothing to worry about. All these jargons are there, and we will discuss everything in detail in upcoming lectures or chapters. Then idempotency, backfilling, catch-up, atomicity, Jinja templating, branching, cross communication. Just now I talked about a little bit. Task instance and diagram. So these are the almost 90% of the jargons that I have written here that we are going to talk about in upcoming lectures. So I think we are done with the today's lecture, and we will meet in the next lecture with the Airflow installation guide, and then we'll start with the DAG, and slowly we'll move to writing our first DAG, and then architecture, and then everything else will fall in the place. So for today's video we are done with the today's video. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye bye.